All right, welcome everybody out to the video on the LeanTakt YouTube channel where we are going to be covering the takt steering and control boards, and we are going to cover the identify portion of these boards. And so I just think this is the coolest thing. I love these boards. The second part can be used either in the Trade Partner Weekly Tactical or the Foreman Daily Huddle. Either way, by this time you've already created coverage in your team weekly tactical, and hopefully you have done some long-term strategic planning in the weekly strategic planning and procurement meeting. But the bottom line is, if you are planning your week with the trades or you're planning the next day with the trades, this identify portion of the boards is just absolutely huge. Now, let me bring you into like the coolest thing that, in my opinion, about the whole deal. Most people in the industry, and I'm not bad mouthing them, I love them, God loves them, and like their mother loves them, right? So like, but most people in last planner meetings, they'll stand around in a circle in their huddles and they'll literally go person by person, and the facilitator will say, where are you today and how many people do you have, right? And so this trade partner is like, well, I'm on level 3 zone A and I've got 5 people. The next trade partner is like, hey, I'm on level 2 zone B and I've got 2 people. Let me say something that sounds offensive. I'm not trying to be, but this is like key. I want you to remember it. Nobody cares. Nobody cares where they are and how many people they have and like how many more days they have. Like, this is every individual trade partner is literally just waiting for their turn and zoning out, worrying about the day. We should not be talking about when we are doing something in these huddles. That is a complete waste of time. We already know when, based on our weekly work plan and based on our takt plan, what we should be discussing are these items here. Spacing problem. Are 2 crews getting too close to each other in the flow? Do we have a zone inside our project that's really complex, that is too hard, that needs to be leveled? Do we have a trade that may be no fault of their own, but because of their complexity or duration or whatever, is taking the longest, that we need to speed up in order for the project to keep pace? Do we have labor issues where people don't have enough labor on their project site? Are any of the trade partners held up? Do we have any rework that's going to slow down, and where we need to do a root cause analysis to make sure that it doesn't happen again? Do we have any owner changes in the area? And this is probably the biggest one right here. I hope everybody's really loving this. Do we have any handoffs? Do we have any handoffs this week or this day so that we can properly coordinate that? Are there any roadblocks that are holding us up? Are there any constraints? By the way, these things are different. Roadblocks are things out ahead of us. Constrained is the way we have the schedule and the system set up. And do we have any new scopes starting? These are the conversations we should be having. If I go to a project site and hear people talking about these, oh my gosh, like I automatically know these are lean geniuses. Okay. So what we want in this identify part of the board is, we want people, even before the meeting, to be able to come up and update the status and the location of their crews, check off any of the rooms that they've prepared for, or areas, right? Check off any rooms or areas that they've completed, input their labor counts if they want to, input their production counts if they want to, list any roadblocks, and then write any deliveries on the board. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, why would we want to do this? Okay, well, let me zoom out and explain that right now. So let's just do a little representative example. So we have some zone maps here as an example, okay? And we have multiple, so that there can be multiple sketches if you want. But let's say trade partners literally followed this. They have been taught by the superintendent, hey, we're going to just come in here and update this and update our information. So let's say that the trade's new. Step number 1, update the status. What if your actual project had the zones identified? Let me just go ahead and maybe do 2 or 3. What if you had zone 1, 2, or 3? Okay, so I'll just do 1, 2, and 3 here. And let's say hypothetically, your trade partners came in here with a dry erase marker and said, hey, my crew is about halfway through this zone. We have gone ahead and inspected the rooms out ahead, and we are done with this room. We're done with the storage, and we're done with the exam room. And let's say that the other person in the other zone was like, hey, I'm in this room right here. I've only looked 2 rooms ahead, and I'm done with only 2 of these areas, and I'm really not on track. And let's say that there's a trade in the other zone, and let's say they're going in this direction, right? And they say, I'm right here. I've inspected the room ahead, and I have completed all of these rooms. Okay. If they came in and did that, that would be huge. And here's why. Because you would immediately know, okay, which of my trades, and let me go ahead and get a different color. Well, my trade partner has planned and inspected the work out ahead. Good. This trade partner, not really looking too far ahead. That may be a part of the problem. This trade partner is looking ahead, but they're going to get stuck. And we have a spacing problem. These 2 trades are too close to each other, and these 2 trades are too far apart. So we're off rhythm. So you're starting to get data, okay? So let's say hypothetically, all of your trades came in and they were marking or magnets. They put magnets on the wall and they said, this is where we are. These are the rooms that I've inspected, or the areas. This is what I've done behind me. Okay. That would provide data, which I'm about to show you in a minute. What if they also said, hey, I'm supposed to have 24 people in my crew. Only 22 people showed up today. Okay, perfect. All right, let's keep going. What if they chose, hey, I want to get 200 square feet per day, right? But hey, today I only got 180 square feet per day, right? Okay, so let's say that if they chose to, they entered that in here, okay? And then if they entered in any roadblocks in the map, like maybe they're like, hey, I see a problem over here. This is something that we're going to have to address. Problem over here. This is something that we're going to have to address. And then at the end of their updating, they came over here to the right and they said, tomorrow we have a delivery coming in and I want to stage it here. And this is the time that it's going to show up, right? Let's say it's Tuesday. I've got a delivery of such and such, and it's going to go right here at this location. You might be thinking to yourself, Jason, this is a lot of information. Why would I want to fill this out? And let me explain why you would want to fill this out. We are trying to identify problems. And so let me just go ahead and use a basketball because it's kind of fun. So I'm going to click on this basketball and get myself a nice little image here. If your trades kept track of this, and maybe even if it's once a week, maybe if you're like, no, my job's too complex, I don't want to do this every day. Maybe it was just a week, once a week. You would say, oh, I've got a problem here with spacing. I've got a problem here. We need to find workable backlog. I've got a problem here where we're not meeting our labor. We've got a problem here over here where we're not meeting our production. Hey, we don't actually have space because we're shutting that area down. And let's say by the time you filled out these boards, you've got a couple of these red flashing lights, these problems. This is the best thing that could ever happen to any construction manager ever anywhere. And I'll tell you why. Because these problems are either going to affect you and slow you down and affect your job and hurt your family, or you are going to start to see them sooner, prevent them, and create flow. So the second part of this process, when you're using these Takt steering and control boards, is by the way, we have these in Canva online. We have them in Miro online. We are developing software that will eventually have where foremen can, pull them up on their iPads or phones. We don't have that yet. Or these can be printed boards on your conference room that are magnetized and that have plexiglass or glass on top of them so you can draw on them. What if your foreman, either in the meeting or before, noted where they were, and you, as a project team, could start to identify them and start solving problems together? These are the things that we should be discussing. So when we start talking about this, I just want you to know, Like, I believe that and by the way, we have a phase for the interiors, phase for the exterior. You know, you'll have multiple boards if you have different phases. But the key for this portion of the boards is to identify the problems, because later on, we are going to discuss our plan to mitigate the problems as a team. And if there's anything that it goes above and beyond what the foreman can do, we are going to pull that into the company systems and Scrum processes. So this is the video where we're talking about how to use the second part, the identify boards, where your foremen are actually providing real-time information so you can have real conversations that matter.